Hey guys, so since Thresh is getting a really cool skin, I'm gonna do Thresh's lore. It doesn't have a page like the rest of them do, so I'm just gonna put it over some gameplay of me playing Thresh. I am a terrible Thresh player, so don't expect it to be that great. So anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and read Thresh's lore. The mind is a wondrous thing to tear apart. Sadistic and cunning, Thresh is a relentless spirit who prides himself on tormenting mortals and breaking them with slow, excruciating inventiveness. His victims suffer far beyond the point of death, for Thresh wreaks agony upon their soul, imprisoning them in his lantern to torture for all eternity. In an age history has all forgotten, the man who once would be known as Thresh was once a member of an order devoted to gathering and protecting knowledge. The masters of this order tasked him with guarding a hidden underground vault filled with dangerous and corrupt magical artifacts. Thresh was incredibly strong-willed and methodical, which made him well suited for such work. The vault Thresh guarded was buried deep beneath the citadel at the center of an island chain protected by rune sigils, arcane locks, and potent wards. Spending such time in the presence of dark spells began to affect Thresh as the magic sought out an inmate, his innate malice. For years the relics preyed on his insecurities, taunting him with his deepest fears and feeding his bitterness. Thresh's spite surfaced through the wanton acts of cruelty, and his talent for exploiting vulnerability bloomed. He slowly tore pages out of a living book, binding it back together when it was all but spent. He scratched the glass of a mirror bound with the memory of an ancient mage until it was opaque, trapping the man in darkness, only to polish it anew and repeat. Just as a secret wants to be told, a spell wants nothing more to be cast, and Thresh denied this each day. He would start to recite an incantation, then let the words trickle off his tongue, halting before the last syllable. He became exquisitely skilled at covering all evidence of his cruelty, such that no one in the order suspected he was anything other than a disciplined guard. The vault had grown so vast that no one knew its contents as completely as Thresh, and the lesser artifacts faded from the order's memory, as Thresh did himself. He resented that he had to hide his meticulous work. Everything under the watch was evil or corrupted in some way. Why shouldn't he be free to do as he would? The vault held many particular magical artifacts, but no people, until one day when a changed man was dragged into the sunken catacombs. He was a warlock who had infused his body with raw sorcery, which gave him the power to regenerate his flesh, no matter how grievous the wound. Thresh was delighted at this new ward, a being who would feel the full range of human suffering, but would not perish, a plaything that he could torment for years to come. He started methodically separating the warlock's skin from his flesh with a hook. He used his chains to lash and tear open a wound until it healed. He took to wearing the chains as he patrolled the vault, reveling in the warlock's fear at the long, dragging sound of his approach. With ample charges to torment in the vault, Thresh became more distant from the order above. He began to take his meals in his underground chamber, lit by a single lantern, rarely emerging from the catacombs. His skin developed a pallid complexion from lack of sunlight. His face became gaunt and hollow. The members of the order avoided him, and with a series of mysterious disappearances plagued the order. None thought to investigate Thresh's lair. When the disaster known as the Rutination struck, magical shockwaves claimed the lives of all who lived on the Isles and transformed them into a state of undeath. While others screamed in anguish, Thresh reveled in the rune. He rose from his cataclysm with a spectral abomination, But unlike many who had passed into the shadowy world, Thresh did not lose his identity. Rather, his penchant for cruel torture and his ability to discern weakness was only heightened. He relished in the chance to continue his cruelty without fear of reprisal, unfettered by the limits of mortality. As a wraith, Thresh could torment the living as deadly and endlessly, delighting in their despair before claiming their soul for an eternity of suffering. Thresh now seeks only particular victims, the ones clever and resilient, those who have a strong will. His greatest joy comes from tormenting his victims until they lose any last glimmer of hope before facing the inevitable hook of his chain. The Collection. A horrible scraping of metal chains drifted over the fields. Outside, an unnatural fog rendered the sun and stars all but inevitable, and the regular hum of insects fell silent. Thresh approached the ruined hotel. He raised his lantern, not to see his surroundings, but to look inside the glass. The interior of the lantern resembled a starry nightscape with thousands of green glowing orbs. They buzzed frantically, trying to escape Thresh's gaze. His mouth twisted into a grotesque grin, teeth glinting from the glow. Each of the lights was precious to him. Behind the door a man whimpered. Thresh sensed his pain and was drawn to it. He knew the man's suffering like an old friend. Thresh had only appeared to the man once, decades ago, but since then the spectre had taken everyone the old man held dear, from his favorite horse to his mother, brother, and recently a manservant who had become a close confidant. The spectre made no pretense of natural deaths. He wanted the man to know what caused each loss. The spirit passed through the door, scraping his chains as they dragged behind him. The walls were damp and ingrained with years of grime. The man looked even worse, his long hair matted, his skin covered in scabs, angry and raw from clawing. He wore what had once been fine velvet clothes, but now were a little more than torn, ragged rags. The man shrank from the sudden green glow covering his eyes. He shook violently, backing away into the corner. "Please, please not you," he whispered. "Long ago I claimed you as mine." Thresh's voice creaked and stretched as if he had not spoken for a time. "It is my time I collect." "I am dying," the man said, his voice barely audible. "If you are here to kill me, you best hurry." He made an effort to look at Thresh directly. Thresh stretched his mouth wide. "Your death is not my desire." He set the glass door of his lantern slightly ajar. Strange sounds came from within, a cacophony of screams. The man did not react at first, with so many screams emerging that they blended together like scraping glass shards. But his eyes widened in horror as he heard the voices he recognized plead from Thresh's lantern. He heard his mother, his brother, his friend, and finally the sound that he dreaded most, his children, wailing as if being burned alive. "What have you done?" he screamed. He scrambled for something to throw, a broken chair, and threw it at Thresh with all his strength. It passed through the spectre harmlessly, and Thresh laughed mirthlessly. The man ran at Thresh, eyes wild with fury. The spectre's hooked chains whipped out like striking snakes. The barbed hooks struck the mortal's chest, cracking ribs and piercing his heart. The man fell to his knees, twisted in delicious agony. "I left them to keep them safe," the man cried. Blood gurgled from his mouth. Thresh wrenched his chains hard. For a moment the man did not move. Then the ripping began, like a rough spun sheet being slowly torn. He was excruciatingly pulled from himself. His body convulsed violently, and blood splayed along the walls. "Now we begin," said Thresh. He pulled the captured soul, pulsing brightly from the end of his chain. It trapped him from within the lantern. The man's hollow corpse collapsed as Thresh departed. Thresh followed the curling black mist away from the cottage into his glowing lantern held high. Only after Thresh was gone the fog dissipated, did the insects resume their nightly chorus, and the stars once again filled the night. So that's the end of Thresh's lore. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and if you liked it, you can leave a like and you can subscribe. You can also comment as to what you would like to see or things I can do differently, and I hope that everybody has a nice day.